special interest money, most of it coming from the Koch brothers, to try to take me out of this Senate race. Because they know me, and they know they don't own me, and they know that if I defeat Rob Portman, they will have lost their best friend on K Street, where all the lobbyists live. And so I'm standing. I'm going to continue to stand. I'm going to fight back because, as I said, I care about the people of Ohio, and the Koch brothers don't give a damn about the people of Ohio. The only thing they care about is increasing their profits.
Governor, why do you think that Rob Portman got two pretty major union endorsements this week?
Well, look at all the union endorsements that I've gotten. I've gotten dozens of union endorsements. And one of the reasons, I believe, is that he is a senator, and he is in a position, if he were to choose to actually inflict damage on the coal miners, because he has some influence over their pensions. But I love the coal miners. Rich Trumka, who used to be the president of the United Mine Workers, was here this morning. Strong supporter. And the coal miners in Ohio are going to be voting for me. Many of them have come to me and said, obviously we're going to vote for you, Ted, and you want us to make commercials for you, we'll do anything we can. So this decision was made in Washington, D.C. It wasn't made in Southern Ohio, I can assure you of that.
What about the Teamsters?
Here again, there's a pension program, that they're very concerned about, and so I think it's an issue of perceived self-interest on their part. It has nothing to do. I mean, Jimmy Hoffa and I have campaigned together. I went to Juarez, Mexico with the Teamsters to look at the devastating effects of NAFTA, which Senator Rob Portman voted for. So I think this is just a matter of Washington inside considerations. Has very little to do with anything that's going to happen in this election in Ohio.
But on the ground in that area, Hillary Clinton is not doing well. How do you campaign with her and yet respect that that's
Are you talking about southern and southeastern Ohio?
Yeah.
Well, let's just see how Hillary Clinton does. I think Bill Clinton's going to be spending a lot of time down there. You know, Hillary Clinton is the only candidate that has a plan for Appalachia. She has, I believe, a $30 billion plan to help the coal miners and the coal communities. Donald Trump has nothing but hot air. He's a carnival barker. He simply has no plan. He stands there and says we're going to open the coal mines. He knows that he can't do that. And the coal mine jobs, many of them, most of them have been lost because of the free market, because of the fact that natural gas is cheaper and plentiful and burns cleaner. It has nothing to do with the environmental regulations. They have some effect, obviously, but the major reason why coal jobs have been lost is because of natural gas and the fact that it's cheap, it's plentiful, and it burns cleaner, and the utilities are switching to the natural gas, and also because of competition from Western coal. Let me say to you that Rob Portman has voted to allow the Western coal companies, primarily Montana and Wyoming, to expand their work on federal lands in direct competition to Appalachian coal. And that means that a ton of Western coal coming from the western sector of the country can sell for as little as $13 a ton, and a ton of Appalachian coal may sell for $40 or $50 a ton. So Rob Portman's got some explaining to do, and we're talking about coal miners. Let me just remind the people that Rob Portman has voted against mine safety. He's voted against expanding black lung health benefits to coal miners, and that's why the Southern Ohio coal miners are going to be supporting me.
Governor,
what's your plan to address criminal justice reform?
Well, obviously, Kelly, as you know, I've worked in the prison system. I've seen the devastating effects of our current system. I've seen prison sentences that are too long, and I've seen young people rotting away in our prison system. And we've got to bring more justice to our justice system, and I'm committed to doing that.
Governor Clinton and Trump are essentially tied in Ohio. Do you feel confident that if the race still remains this close through November, that you'll still be the winner come November?
I feel very confident that I'm going to win, and I feel very, very confident that Hillary Clinton's going to carry Ohio. Ohioans are not going to embrace Donald Trump's hatred and bigotry. Plus, he's an ignorant man. He's an ignorant man. He has not spent the time or the effort to learn the issues. to put this man in charge of our nuclear codes, to take a man who implies that he would use nuclear weapons in Europe, to have a man in the presidency who would perhaps encourage Japan and South Korea to become nuclearized, to have a man in the presidency that would say to our NATO allies that if they're attacked, he may not honor our treaty obligations and come to their defense. He would be devastated as a commander-in-chief. He would be dangerous to this country. And people need to understand and realize that. He is an ignorant man. I'm not saying he's not intelligent. I'm saying he's woefully uninformed. He hasn't paid the price to study the issues and to understand the awesome responsibility that comes to a president of the United States of America. The future not only of America, but the future of mankind is dependent upon having someone in the White House who has the wisdom and the maturity to act responsibly. And what he did recently in encouraging the Russians to commit what I would believe would be an illegal act and to try to hack into our system is a sign of his irresponsible behavior. He just, I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people in this country who are more competent and more qualified to be president. There are probably several of you standing around me today that are much more competent to be the president of this country than Donald Trump, because you're reasonable people. He is not reasonable. He encourages division, he encourages hate, he encourages intolerance. He says things that are not true, factually not true. And to think that he could become the president of this country is well, it's unthinkable.
How does Hillary Clinton tonight strike an optimistic note and yet also acknowledge the suffering in places like Ohio?
Yeah.
How does she thread that?
Well, I think she does that. Hillary understands human suffering, and that's reflected in the work she has done throughout her life. I remember when she first became First Lady. I was a freshman congressman. I remember how she went to work to try to get a health care system for this country. She worked her heart out to do that. I know about her history with the Children's Defense Fund. I know what she's done as Secretary of State. She's traveled around this world advocating for women and children. So she has demonstrated, I think, very clearly throughout her life, throughout her entire life, that she cares about people. And I think this evening, obviously, we will celebrate the nomination of the first woman to have a major party nomination. But I think she, more than anyone else that I know that's running for president, certainly more than Donald Trump, understands she has plans. She talks about coal communities, and that in artful statements she made that now is being taken out of context. If you look at that entire statement, she said we can't forget these coal miners and these coal communities because they have worked and they have powered this nation for so long. And now that the economy is changing and the energy programs are changing, we can't forget them. She was saying that, and she has a program. She's had a program in place for months regarding the Appalachian coal communities. And so I am very confident that she'll be able to communicate to the American people tonight her genuine concern for them and her genuine desire to be their spokesperson. She's a fighter for people. That's how I see Hillary Clinton. I've always seen her that way. She's a person who is willing to fight for what she believes in.
These questions about party unity and the Bernie Sanders supporters as being dissatisfied and being very concerned. Do you think the party's going to come together, and at least visually? I mean, is there going to be the message that the party's not together?
Well, I think the party is very unified, and I think the numbers of people who are holding out in terms of the Bernie or bust group is very small and getting smaller by the day. There may be some who never come on board, but it will be a very, very small number of people, certainly a small percentage of the overall vote. I think we're incredibly unified, and the speeches last night, I was so proud to be a Democrat last night. I even enjoyed the singing. What the world needs now is love.
Sweet love.
Sweet love. It's the only thing there's just too little of. I mean, this convention has been positive. It's been passionate. And it has been quite the opposite of what we saw in Cleveland. And let me say one more time, I congratulate Governor John Kasich for having the integrity and the principle to not get behind Donald Trump. Donald Trump would be dangerous to this country. And Rob Portman, I believe, should be embarrassed that he has chosen to put his support behind Donald Trump. Because when you support someone for president, you have to support their agenda. Otherwise, why would you support them for president? And Donald Trump's agenda is anti-woman, anti-student, anti-worker, and filled with hate and divisiveness.
Thank you.